My parents didn't invite me to the family trip, so I went on my own vacation, posted everything online, and ignored every call they made after. I'm a 26-year-old guy. Growing up, I always thought my family was close-knit, you know? Holidays, birthdays, random Sunday dinners. Felt like we were all on the same page. That's how I saw it, at least. I guess that's the thing about families. They make you feel like you belong, like you matter, even when you don't ask for it. So when my parents started talking about this big family trip, Florida, a week at the beach, didn't think twice. I didn't think about it much at all, actually. It was just another trip, another family vacation that I was definitely going to be a part of. I mean, why wouldn't I be? But then the invites went out. My brother got one. My cousin did too. Aunts, uncles, everyone got a message except for me. At first, I thought maybe I was just late. Maybe the text didn't come through or something. So I texted my mom. "Hey, when are we leaving for the trip?" I asked, casually. The reply hit me like a brick. "We thought you'd be too busy with work." Too busy with work? My stomach dropped. I'd been working, sure, but I had made plans to clear that week for this trip. I even told my boss I'd be off. I didn't respond at first. I couldn't. Instead, I stared at my phone, the buzzing in my hands drowning out any sound in the room. Was I really that unimportant to them? I thought we were close, but maybe I was wrong. I didn't let it go. I couldn't. I called my mom a few hours later. I knew I needed answers, even though I wasn't sure I was ready to hear them. "Mom, why wasn't I invited to the trip?" My voice shook more than I wanted it to. "It's one thing to feel hurt. It's another to feel like you don't even know your own family," she answered, almost too quickly, like she was expecting the question. "We thought you'd be too busy with work." That was the same excuse as before. Too busy. I tried to brush it off, but it didn't sit right with me. Too busy. I had made time. I rearranged my schedule. I even made sure I wasn't going to miss out on the chance to be with them. And now they were telling me it was my fault. I pressed her more. "Are you serious? Everyone else got an invite, but I didn't." The frustration was boiling over, but I kept my voice steady. "Well, you know your work schedule is demanding," she said, sounding so casual. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like it wasn't the reason I was being shut out. I was quiet for a moment, staring out the window, trying to calm the rising heat in my chest. It wasn't just a trip anymore. It felt like something bigger. It felt like they didn't want me there. I wasn't just excluded. I wasn't even a thought. It was like I wasn't part of the family anymore. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Why wasn't I good enough to even be invited? Was I really that replaceable? I couldn't just sit there, feeling like I was invisible. I tried calling them again, each ring stretching longer, my frustration growing with every unanswered second. Finally, I left a voicemail, but it felt pointless, like I was speaking into a void. I texted them asking, begging, anything to get a response. But nothing. Silence. It was like I didn't matter. Like they couldn't be bothered to even acknowledge me. I stared at my phone screen, the read receipts staring back at me, mocking my attempts. And that was when it hit me. They didn't care. I wasn't important enough to even have a conversation with, I snapped. I was done begging for their attention. If they didn't want me around, fine. I wasn't going to sit here moping around, waiting for them to throw me a bone. Screw that. Without even thinking too much about it, I grabbed my laptop and started planning my own getaway. I didn't need them. If they could go off and have fun without me, then I was going to do the same thing, only better. I booked a vacation to the beach. I didn't care if it wasn't Florida. I didn't care about anything anymore except proving to myself that I could have a good time on my own terms. I didn't tell them I was going. I didn't owe them an explanation. As far as I was concerned, if they could ignore me, then I could do the same. And that's exactly what I did. I packed my bags, booked a hotel, and by the time I left, I didn't feel bad about it. I felt free. The first day of my trip felt liberating. I woke up to the sound of the ocean waves crashing against the shore and the warm sun streaming through the window. I didn't have to answer to anyone. No demands, no expectations, just me, my beach, and a whole lot of freedom. I spent the day exploring, taking pictures of everything that made me feel alive against the soft sand beneath my feet. The vibrant sunsets, the food that actually tasted like it was made for me. I posted photos, each one more daring than the last. The beach, my food, the views. I wanted them to see it all. The irony of it all was that I was actually having fun. I was enjoying myself in a way I hadn't in years. I didn't have to pretend to be part of a family that treated me like an afterthought. For once, it didn't feel wrong to be doing this alone. I shared everything online. Tagged the locations, letting my family see just how fine I was. I didn't need their trip to have a good time. And maybe, just maybe, that would send a message. But when I woke up the next morning to 20 missed calls, reality hit. The little buzzing in my pocket felt like an electric shock. I thought I'd left it behind, but no. They were coming after me. I stared at the screen, feeling a rush of adrenaline. This wasn't just about a trip anymore. This was about them realizing they couldn't control me. This was bigger than I expected. And I had a feeling the consequences were just beginning. I couldn't ignore it forever. After the missed calls kept piling up, I finally picked up. It was my dad. His voice was sharp, angry. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. "We're your family." His words hit me harder than I expected. There was so much anger in his voice, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't about me. It was about him feeling embarrassed about them, realizing they couldn't just treat me like I didn't matter. And that made it worse. "You're really going to pull this stunt," he continued. "You couldn't just call us and talk about it. You had to post it all online?" I stayed silent for a moment, trying to hold back the tears. They didn't get it. They didn't understand that I wasn't doing this to hurt them. I was doing this because I had been hurt. I didn't want to be part of a family that only saw me when it was convenient. I didn't want to keep pretending that their neglect was okay. But all they could see was the fact that I wasn't playing by their rules anymore. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," I finally said, my voice steady. "But I'm not going to sit around anymore waiting for you to decide when I'm important enough to be invited. You had your chance." His frustration was palpable. "You're acting like we don't care about you." "Of course we do." But it wasn't about that. They ignored me for so long, and now they were angry that I wasn't just going to roll over and let it slide. It wasn't just a family trip anymore, was a reflection of how they saw me. And I realized, as much as they said they cared, they didn't actually get it. Not at all. Later that evening, my phone buzzed again. It was a text from my mom. I almost didn't want to open it, but I had to. "I thought you'd understand. We just wanted a peaceful trip." Her words hit me like a punch to the stomach. Peaceful? I stared at the message, confusion mixing with anger. Peaceful? Was that what it was really about? I thought this trip was supposed to be about family, but it felt more like it was about them getting rid of the one person they couldn't control. I read the text over and over, as if somehow I'd missed something. She was trying to make it sound like I was the one who was at fault, like I was being unreasonable for wanting to be included. I wasn't the one who had excluded myself, they were the ones who had. Made me feel like an afterthought. It was emotional manipulation, pure and simple. She wasn't apologizing. She was just trying to make me feel guilty for making my own decision. She wanted me to feel like I had ruined their peaceful trip because I wasn't there. It wasn't about the trip at all. It was about them trying to control how I felt, making me believe that their lack of empathy was somehow my fault. For a moment, it worked. The guilt came flooding in. I started to doubt myself, questioning if I was being too harsh. Maybe they really just wanted some peace. Maybe I was overreacting. But then something snapped inside me. I wasn't going to play along anymore. I wasn't going back into their manipulative grip. I wasn't going to let them make me feel small again. I deleted the message without replying. This wasn't about me being wrong anymore. It was about them refusing to admit they had hurt me. And I wasn't going to apologize for standing up for myself. A few days into my trip, I thought I was starting to find peace. But that was until I got a message from my cousin, someone I barely spoke to anymore. She was a little younger, but we had always gotten along when we were kids. "Hey, I heard about what happened. I just wanted to let you know. Your brother's on the trip too." I stared at the message for a while, trying to wrap my head around it. My brother. The one who had always been the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. He was on the trip. I felt my chest tighten. It was like the floor dropped out from under me. I'd spent the last few days trying to convince myself that maybe I was just being overly sensitive. But this was a slap in the face. I texted her back immediately. "What do you mean, he's on the trip? Why didn't anyone tell me?" Her reply came back quickly. "I thought you knew. He's been going back and forth between you and them, telling them that you were busy with work and you wouldn't mind missing it. I didn't know it was going to get this messy." I sat there, dumbfounded. My brother had been playing both sides this whole time. He had told them one thing, told me another, all while keeping his spot on the trip. He had known I wasn't invited, and he hadn't said a word. It wasn't just about the trip anymore. It was about family favoritism, plain and simple. My brother got everything while I was left to figure out where I fit in. I felt invisible. I felt like I didn't matter to them at all, like I was just a pawn in their game. I had always been the black sheep, but this was a betrayal. And it cut deeper than anything they had ever done to me before. The days blurred together. The calls kept coming in, one after another, ringing through the silence of my hotel room. My phone became a reminder of how utterly alone I felt. I'd ignored every message, every call, every attempt they made to reach out. But the truth was, the longer I stayed silent, the more hollow I felt inside. That night, everything hit me all at once. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, the dim light of my phone casting long shadows across the room. I scrolled through the messages, my finger hovering over the screen, but I couldn't bring myself to reply. Each message was a mix of guilt trips, vague apologies, and accusations. They didn't get it. They never did. I threw my phone down onto the bed, burying my face in my hands. I didn't cry. Not at first. But then the frustration, the anger, and the hurt all collided in my chest. It wasn't just the trip anymore. It was everything. Every time I was overlooked, every time I was pushed aside, every time I had to fight to prove that I mattered. It was like I was invisible to them. I couldn't take it anymore. I felt like I was suffocating, like I was drowning in my own despair. Why was I always the one left out? Why was I always the one trying to make things work when they didn't care enough to make the effort? The anger I'd carried for days suddenly gave way to something darker, sadness, helplessness. I was done trying to fight for their attention, their approval. I was done fighting for a place in their lives. It felt like nothing I did could ever make a difference. I slumped back against the bed, staring at the ceiling. I was exhausted physically, emotionally, mentally. My family had broken me down in ways I never thought possible. I didn't have the strength to keep going like this. I was done. The night felt endless. I couldn't sleep. My mind raced, replaying every moment, every argument, every slight. The tears had stopped, but the ache in my chest lingered, heavy and suffocating. I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. The hurt, betrayal, it all came rushing back, wave after wave, until I felt like I was drowning in it. I'd spent so much time trying to fix things, trying to be a part of something that didn't want me, trying to prove I mattered. But at that moment, something shifted. I sat up in bed, wiped my face with my sleeve, and looked out the window at the night sky. For the first time, I realized something crucial. I wasn't the one in the wrong here. They had treated me like I was disposable, but that didn't mean I had to believe it. I didn't have to keep punishing myself for their actions. I had every right to feel hurt. I had every right to feel abandoned. But I didn't need to carry that pain with me anymore. It wasn't my burden to bear. The trip wasn't about revenge. It was about me reclaiming my life. I wasn't running from them. I was running toward something better. Toward my own happiness. Toward my own peace. I had made the choice to go on that vacation, not to hurt them, but to give myself something I hadn't been given in years: freedom. It wasn't their fault anymore. It wasn't about being a victim. It was about taking control of my life, my happiness, and my future. I wasn't powerless. I wasn't a victim. I was stronger than I'd ever realized. And it was time to stop letting them dictate my worth. A few weeks after my trip, I got a call from my mom. She asked if we could meet up, just the family, for dinner. At first I hesitated. I didn't want to go back to all that emotional chaos. But something in me knew I had to face them one last time. I needed closure, even if it wasn't the kind of closure I'd imagined. When I sat down at that dinner table, the atmosphere was thick with tension. My mom was quiet, fidgeting with her napkin. My dad kept glancing at me, like he was unsure what to say. There were no warm greetings, no small talk. It was clear they had been thinking about this for a while. Finally, my mom broke the silence. "I'm sorry for what we did," she said, her voice low, almost like she was afraid of the words. "I should have seen how hurt you were. We never meant to make you feel so left out." My dad nodded, looking at me with regret. "We should have been better. We were wrong." And for a moment, I felt that the words were what I had wanted to hear for so long. The apology I had been craving. But as soon as I felt that brief spark of relief, it quickly faded. The damage had already been done. No apology could erase the hurt, the isolation, the years of feeling like I didn't matter. I looked at them both, my heart heavy, but my mind clear. "I'm glad you're sorry," I said, my voice steady. "But this isn't something that can be fixed with words. You can't just pretend everything's okay now." Their eyes softened, but I could see it. The same thing that had been there all along: expectation. Expectation that I would forgive them and fall back into line. But I wasn't going back. I wasn't going to keep accepting their half-hearted attempts at fixing things. "I'm done," I said softly. "I'm moving on." And for the first time, I felt a sense of peace. I was finally letting go of the weight they had put on me. And it felt like freedom. Months passed after that dinner, and it felt like a lifetime. I threw myself into work, into my own life. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for someone else to make me feel valued. I traveled more, went to places I'd always dreamed of, and just spent time doing things that made me happy. I wasn't constantly checking my phone, hoping for a message or a call from them. I realized the calls had stopped coming, but my healing hadn't needed them. I was finally able to sit with myself without feeling like I was missing something or someone. The peace I'd been searching for wasn't going to come from them. It had to come from within me. I wasn't going to get my worth validated by a family who had never really seen me for who I was. The more I focused on myself, the more I saw just how far I'd come. I had rebuilt myself from the ground up, piece by piece. I started to realize that the real journey wasn't about the trip, or even about the family I'd always thought would love me unconditionally. It was about me. About me finding my worth, my voice, my place in the world. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone, not even them. I didn't need their approval, their apologies, or their acceptance. I had learned to stand tall on my own, and it felt like the weight of the past had finally been lifted. I was no longer chasing after validation that was never going to come. I was free. Free from the guilt, free from the expectations, and free from the family that didn't know how to love me the way I deserved. And for the first time, I truly understood what it meant to choose myself. Looking back, I don't regret a single thing. Not the hurt, not the silence, not even the moments where I thought I'd never recover. Because all of it led me to where I am now, stronger, wiser, and finally at peace with myself. It took a painful experience, something I never expected to go through, but in the end, was the best thing that could have happened. I had to hit rock bottom to realize just how much I was worth. And now, I know I'll never settle for anything less than the respect and love I deserve. I've learned that family doesn't always know best. As much as we want to believe that blood means unconditional love, sometimes it's just a bond that can be taken for granted. Sometimes stepping away from that toxicity, no matter how difficult, is the only way to heal. I used to think I had to fix everything, that I had to make them understand my pain, but now I see that's not my responsibility. They didn't see my worth, but I've come to see it for myself. And that's all that matters now. I'm better off, more independent, more self. I've come to realize that I don't need anyone's approval to be happy. I'm not defined by the actions or the inactions of others. I am who I am, and that's enough. The pain isn't gone, but it no longer controls me. It's just a part of the story. One chapter in a book I'm still writing, and now I'm ready. Ready for whatever comes next. I'm no longer waiting for the call, the apology, or the validation. I've found my own peace, and that's a freedom I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.